continue the meeting. Okay, so what are some of the objectives out of this meeting tonight? We really want you to be confident in your role as PTA, often almost every day, more than once a day, especially with a lot of our newer executives. We get calls and concerns about things that are happening in schools. A lot of our presidents and our executives are having some challenges in terms of just coordinating with their team. So at the end of this session, we want you to feel confident that you can move forward within your first steps as PTA. We would have done a lot of elections over the past 2 months, and some schools have not yet had their first executive meeting or even met with their principal. So this is something that we want to make sure coming out of this meeting that you have the confidence to move forward. You'll also learn very briefly in less than a minute, some of the history of the PTA and the organization that stands behind you, some of the benefits as well. You'll understand some of your key roles within the PTA. You'll learn how you should be running your meetings, how to set up your PTA structure properly, very basically, how to apply proper communication and how to do proper reporting. And of course, more importantly, how to start your year strong as a PTA president and a PTA secretary. The reason why we would have called this meeting specifically, or this session, for the president and the secretary is because those two positions work hand in hand, right? My secretary often, has to pull me back in check and say, Madam President, no, this is what we're supposed to be doing. They're like the backbone of the PTA in terms of communication, and really has the president's back and vice versa. So you and your presidents and your secretary, you all need to be working very closely together. If you see me looking off to the side, it is because I have another monitor that I'm watching the presentation on. So forgive me, you all are at my focal point, but I'm just watching over here to get the content to share. What is a PTA? So a PTA is a voluntary organization that brings us together, brings us schools, our communities, persons, stakeholders within our community as well, that really brings us together for the betterment of our children. When parents volunteer their time and they work hand in hand with teachers, children thrive. They perform better at school. They're a lot more confident because they're surrounded by a network of people behind them. It's not just mommy and daddy at home or teacher in the class. We are working hand in hand for our children. For parents, the PTA really supposed to offer us a chance to be informed of what is happening in our school. I just want to confirm that everyone can see the presentation.
Yes, please.
Yeah. I'm wondering why I'm not seeing it. Just give me 1 second, please. All right. So I'll continue looking to the side. Right. So for our parents, the PTA really offers a chance for you to be involved, for you to be informed in what's happening in your school environment, for you to feel empowered as a parent, as well as a PTA member. It gives you a voice in changing what is happening within your children's school and your education and their daily experiences while they are in school, which definitely impacts their home life as well. Our PTA is supported by an Act of Parliament 18 of 1976, which gives us legal rights to form a PTA. We have a constitution, which is the governing authority of the PTA, that acts as a GPS, so to speak, in how we perform in PTA. Right? We have our motto, which is home and school united for the good of the child. Right. So as I said earlier, we do have a constitution, the Act of Parliament. So if you do not have access to a constitution as yet, you can reach out to your unit representative. They will facilitate the sale. It's $50 for one. We don't make any profit on that. That goes directly to national. And if it was not handed over by your former PTA, definitely try to get your hands on a constitution. We were established 65 years ago. So this year is actually our Jubilee year, 65 years in operation. 65 years where PTA has been supporting families across Trinidad and Tobago. It really is the engine for us to harness our volunteer power, harness our skills as parents to support our children while they are in school. So that makes this our 65 years. And I will put a little plug in there for everyone that this year we are celebrating the PTA Awards and Gala at Cascadia. That is the 20th of December. So I know we would have sent the link for you to register for your early tickets, which was $100. Those have already sold out. We do have the ones for 200 that's available. So again, you can reach out to your unit representative. It's going to be a night of fun, PTA fun. PTAs from all across the country will be there, right? So that is celebrating our 65 years of service throughout Trinidad and Tobago. We work collaboratively. We work with policymakers, so no decisions are really made regarding education or stakeholders in Trinidad and Tobago without first consulting the NPTA. As long as it has to do with children or education, the NPTA is called to the table. And even more and more as time goes by. So we definitely getting the recognition. The PTA is really definitely getting the recognition it needs. Recently, some major decisions were made over the vacation period about having policing in schools. That those decisions could not have been made unless we were consulted on a national level. So the PTA, Madam Secretary, someone is saying that they're unable to fill out the forms. I don't know if you can offer some assistance if there's anything I need to do to open up the forms. Right, so the PTA really is an opportunity for you to amplify your voice as well. And we'll go into that in terms of some of the benefits that you have, that you can get when there is a PTA in your school. We also have a diverse network of families, students, teachers, and supporters. We have the legal recognition with our Act of Parliament, as I mentioned before. That makes us the only body in Trinidad and Tobago that represents parents. And again, I want to stress the NPTA is the only body in Trinidad and Tobago that is legally recognized to represent parents. Any decision relating to our children, as long as it is with schools, the NPTA representative has to be called in to be able to speak on behalf of you. You as parents are in a good position because you're affiliated with the PTA. So when you voice and share your concerns with us, that is then taken to the national level so that it can be sorted out and really ventilated into if you're having any issues within your schools. And very basic, just so that you understand that there's an organization behind you. So what is happening in your school? You're not alone. You're not just a school by yourself. You're part of a network. So below here, where you see all the units, PTAs, all the school PTAs, this is really the heart of our organization. The work that you are doing on the ground is what makes this organization powerful. So and that's all of us right down here at the unit level. Above that, we have the regional executive. There are 8 regional districts in the country aligned with the educational districts. PoS Environs is only one. And then we also now report to the national executive. And they're the ones that will really be meeting and consulting with major stakeholders, ministers, and so forth in education. And I really thought it was important that you saw this slide and that you understand that behind you, there's a much wider organization. Tonight, we have 35 people on the call. That's 35 persons from different schools across the Port of Spain district. Madam Secretary, there are 4 people in the waiting room to come in.
Yes, Sean, I'm trying to find it.
Why do we PTA? What is the benefit of having a PTA in the school? And a lot of them, I would have mentioned them when we spoke earlier. You have the opportunity to amplify your voice. When you're on the PTA, you have an opportunity to make change that really, and change policies that really impact your children in school. So if you as a PTA president, you've just gotten into the role for the first time and you find maybe there's an issue with um maybe there's a water shortage in the school, the PTA can now say, listen, I'm fed up of complaining and talking about it in the chat. We now have an engine, we now have a body in the school that can make some change towards that issue that we're having. Or let us use our voice as a PTA and voice the concerns to the principal so that we can address some of those concerns. And that is just one example. There's so many other things that a PTA can do that can help really solve some of the issues that they're having in their school and improve their children's school life. 1 second. I'm in a meeting. Thank you. Two, the PTA gives you the opportunity to harness volunteer power. So I spoke about that before. In a parent body, they have maybe, let's say, even a small school with 100 children in it. But the parents of those 100 children, one might be a plumber, one might be a caterer, one might be a person who works in an air conditioning company, one might be a painter, one might be a marketing expert, one might be a psychologist. Can you imagine when you pull all those parents together with their own skills and resources, how it can benefit the children in the school? So that is another strong benefit, and I want you all to really understand the benefits, because when you are speaking with your principals, when you're speaking with your parents, when you're even speaking with your executive members, you must be able to stand on why I am here as a PTA president. This is the value that we are bringing as a PTA once we do it properly. So we spoke about being able to amplify your voice, and now we're speaking about the ability to harness volunteer power. 3, fundraising. Now, we all know that this is what PTA was traditionally known for, the cake sales and the bake sales. But there is so much more value now to having a PTA in your school other than just fundraising. What some PTAs are doing right now is that they are collecting PTA dues, right? Principals we know cannot do registration fees anymore, so they are communicating with their PTAs, they're collecting PTA dues, and then they're deciding how they can split those monies between the PTA and the school. The PTA will donate portions of it back to the school, and that really is decided on what the principal and the PTA decides. But the point is, yes, fundraising is important, but the PTA is not there just to fundraise alone. Our recommendation is if you do one fundraising activity, it must be for something specifically. PTA should not have thousands and thousands and tens and thousands of dollars sitting down in an account. If you're doing a fundraiser, let it be aimed towards a specific event that you're planning to have in the school. Secondly, if you're doing one PTA event, try and do 2 welfare activities after that, or 2 educational activities, or 2 family-oriented activities. So the PTA is not just seen as a fundraising venture, right? So that's 3 benefits we have so far. 4, PTAs boost the well-being of their children while they're in the school. So they focus on needs for our children to succeed. They focus on nutrition, they focus on health, they focus on physical fitness and general well-being. There are PTAs right now in our region that are doing exercise programs. They are doing fruit bowls in the school. They're making sure that their children have a little fruit in the cafeteria every day. They are doing so many other opportunities. They have parenting programs that are happening within their schools that are really solving the needs of our parents and our children in the school, helping us be better parents. That is another one of the advantages of having a successful PTA in your school. 5th point, successful kids equals involved parents. Children just do better when their parents are involved. When your parents are involved, children perform better. PTAs also help push educational programs. There are PTAs, again, right here in Port of Spain that are doing reading programs. There are PTAs that are doing spelling bees. There are PTAs that are doing math programs. A president sent a program to me today where they're doing a boot camp focusing on transitioning their children out of secondary school into tertiary education or to the work life. So PTA really focuses on the educational benefits of the children as well, outside of what the school is doing. And I can tell you, from where I sit, in my experience, almost most of our PTA parents, all of their children are excelling in their school, or at least doing above average. So, and it's not because we have access to the teachers and the teachers giving us the test first. No, it is a testament that when parents are involved, children perform better. Another benefit of being or having a successful PTA in your school is that involved parents are informed parents. And I can tell you for my units, we have chats, and sometimes those chats get very, parents are they're talking and they're saying this and they're complaining about this and that because they don't know what is happening, right? So PTA now brings that information to your parents so that they are informed and they can actually solve some of the issues that are happening within the school. So uninvolved parents are informed parents and they become a part of the solution for change for our children. Another benefit is improved communications. There are roles on the PTA, like the public relations officer, that helps coordinate newsletters, flyers, digital medias, mailing lists, manage WhatsApp chats. The ministry has a policy called the adopt a school policy where it encourages corporate Trinidad and Tobago to adopt schools within their areas. But in order for you to be picked up by these corporate sponsorships, you need to be seen, you need to be heard. So the role of the PTA, the role of the public relations officer as well, can help really put schools on the map. So if your school is doing a fundraising activity, you're gonna promote it. If your school is just done a welfare activity, you're gonna put it up on your social media, you're gonna share it. You're gonna share communication between the teachers and the parents as well. You become the bridge of communications between the both. There are some teachers that don't want to have direct communication with their parents. The PTA can help be that bridge in terms of communicating between the two. And then lastly, for this presentation, because I can go on and on and on about the benefits of having a PTA in the school, is that you have a connection to resources. So one of the things that we are trying to do on our end, thank you very much for those of you who have completed the registration as well as the pre-test. Let's just get an idea of what it is going into PTA at this time. So you do have the opportunity to connect to programs. So one of the things that we're trying to do on a regional level, as well as on a national level, is to partner with stakeholders, to partner with resources that we can now bring back to our unit members. So if you're having an issue within your school, with maybe there's bullying or maybe there is a high need for speaking to someone for special needs because we know the system is so swamped. The PTA on a regional level and on a national level is supposed to be able to put you in contact with persons who can assist you with those challenges in your school. Last year, October, the region, the Port of Spain region, would have partnered with UNODC to train our 50 PTA leaders across the district on the dangers of your phone, the cyberbullying, what is happening within the phones, what our children are doing with these devices. And we know that they have them. They're in their rooms, they're in their beds at night, they're lying down, they're listening to these devices. And we as parents are clueless to the dangers that we're opening our children to. So we saw it very important for us to train our PTA leaders, train them to be trainers so they can now go back into their schools and train their parents on what they should be looking out in terms of protecting their children from these threats online. So I'm just drawing reference to one of the programs that PTA support that you can get from the PTA that you can now take back to your schools as well. This is a structure of what the PTA should look. Well, this is an org chart of the offices at your level, at the unit level. There's the president. The president is the person who is like the airport controller. They know all the rules of everyone, they understand everyone's functions, and they know how to direct traffic. The president's job is not to do all the work. So if you're sitting down doing all the work, you're doing all the minutes, you're doing all the PR, you're planning all the welfare programs, then we're not doing something right. The president's job is to understand the needs of the PTA, to chart out the objectives with the executive, and to make sure that everybody is working together to achieve those objectives by the time that you all have decided you wanted to do it. The president is also assisted by the vice president. Coming down from there, we have the secretary and the assistant secretary. And we will go, as I said, we will go more into in-depth rules when we have our bootcamp training. There are tools like AI, there are tools that actually listen into meetings that can transcribe your entire minutes for you. So there are lots of tools that make it easier now for secretaries to be able to perform, but we will go into that in another session. This is really just a getting started guide. Then there's the treasurer. The treasurer is responsible for all the finances of the PTA. They should always have a report ready for you at each executive meeting and each general meeting. The treasurer is also assisted by the two trustees, and they will be responsible for signing off on the treasurer's report as well as managing the school assets, the PTA's assets. So you may want to ask, what kind of assets could the PTA have? Well, we have assets. There could be a tablecloth. There could be some drinks left over from the last PTA event that you had, some cases of water, whatever it is you have. The trustees are the ones that are responsible for taking inventory, knowing where they are, and reporting that back to the executive. It should also be a part of your handover, but we will go into that a little further. Then there's the public relations officer, who more or less is like the face of the PTA. They are the ones who are creating all the flyers, sharing all the good work that the PTA is doing. Of course, you need to have a strong PR because you want buy-in to what you're doing in your school, and you want to have your membership grow. You want advocates for the PTA within your school. Then there's the education officer, who is responsible for a lot of the research and presentation of information at your meetings. And then the welfare officer, who is also responsible for similarly for research, but addressing more of the social needs of our children. That person is a person that, for instance, if there is a child that is in need of school supplies, the welfare officer can organize a charity drive or keep an ongoing charity initiative in place, donation drive. So whenever there's a need, you can give out hampers and school supplies or whatever the case may be. And then there are coordinators. Coordinators fill in anywhere that they are needed. When you were elected as presidents, we would have asked you how many coordinators you wanted. What is a good strategy to use as well is to assign a coordinator to each of your roles. So if you have 5 coordinators, put one with PR, put one with welfare, put one with education, so that if for any reason your PRO is not available at a meeting, the coordinator that is assigned to work with them can kind of fill in. It's not a hard and fast rule, but it's something to consider when you actually have your first meeting. Okay, understanding your role. And I will just briefly say, I mean, I know I would have spoken a lot about it just now in terms of the president. The president is responsible for leading the PTA and to presiding over all meetings. So that means that your president is the one that chairs the meeting. You, as the president, will chair the meeting. Of course, you want to make sure that there's order in your meeting. We want to bring some professionalism to your PTA. You would have received a document on parliamentary procedures as well as protocols and how you should be chairing the meeting. As the president, all concerns should be directed to you as the chair of the meeting. You want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to speak in your meetings. Make sure that you're being very fair with them. Make sure that you have all discussion. And one thing as a president as well is you try not to put your personal opinion in front of your executive because you're going to sway any decision that we make. So try to be as impartial as possible. Lay the facts down. This is what we are treating with today. Let me hear the executive feedback. At the end of the day, if for some reason that you find that you're having any sort of varying opinions, like it's kind of half down the table, then you can do a vote, right? You as the chair, you as the president will not be voting. But unless, of course, you are the tiebreaker, depending on what the votes are. Right? So just giving you some guidelines on how you should be chairing your meeting to keep it professional. You are not, it's not your decision, my way or the highway. That's not how it works. You have a team that works with you. You share your concerns. Of course, your executive is also supposed to trust your leadership. So if you present something or propose to them, you would expect that they will go with what you're saying, but you must also listen to what their concerns are as well. Right? You also serve as the official spokesperson for the PTA even before the PRO. If there's any reason that you need to have a discussion with an issue, you're the person that will need to be there and present. One thing that I should also mention to you, there is a national training manual. I think it's going to be revamped. One of the things that is happening, we're seeing it more often, not so much in Port of Spain, but we see PTAs that are speaking to the media. So there actually is a media policy that prevents our PTA members from doing that. well, let me not say prevent, without consulting with your regional body first. So if you're having any issue in your school, maybe you have issue with rats, maybe you have um, an issue with lack of teachers, before going to the media, come to the region. Whether you want to pen it or you want to be verbal, we can communicate with the national president who will try to solve it behind the scenes. So it should not be a case where you're on the media and we don't know anything about it on a regional level because we were not given the opportunity to comment. Anytime there's an issue with any of your units, just recently, there was an issue with a unit within the Port of Spain district that was picked up by the media. They call us right away. So we like to have that information beforehand and let them know that we're already working on a solution. Right? The president will also ensure good communication with the parents and the principal. You are to oversee all committees. I will talk a little bit about that a little later. And you are to ensure compliance with the Constitution. So as the president and the secretary, you need to know what is in the Constitution, right? It needs to become a part of your daily reading. Right? So I will actually hand over this section of the meeting on secretaries to the regional secretary, Ms. Douglas.
Good night again. I'm just going to read. Are you hearing me? Yes. So I'm just going to read, just briefly, some of the secretary's functions. Keep accurate minutes. Now, you know, at meetings, the secretary is the one who should take minutes. But what we would like is that the assistant can also take minutes as well, so that we'll have more accurate minutes, because he may miss something and the assistant may have it. Manage correspondence. This correspondence would be anything that comes into the PTA or leaves the PTA. Any sort of communication, letters to be sent, letters received, any sort of information, they would manage the correspondence and pass the information first to the president. If something is to be addressed, the president will address it at the next executive meeting. Maintain registers and records. So this would be your attendance registers, any sort of registers, attendance registers, if you have special meetings, anything like that, records. So the president will speak about the treasurer and the treasurer's report, but any information, any monies, anything that comes into the PTA, anything at all, the secretary must have a record of it. Funds, you're not holding the treasurer's books, but you're keeping a record of monies received, monies paid. So we always have someone to reference check everything that is going on. Support communication. So this support will be throughout your executive body. All your committees, you would give them what sort of support, what sort of guidance they would need. And finally, submit a report. So this report would be submitted to the president. So for new presidents who are online and presidents from before, returning presidents. So when you send information into us on the Port of Spain email, I would receive the information and disseminate the information. Whatever that is urgent, let's say you have some issues at your school, all of this information would be documented and passed to the president for us to take action. So things like that. So anything that comes in, whether you get information from parents, whether you get information from the principal, you would record the information and submit a report to the president on the way forward.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. So one thing that she said that was very important is recording of anything that happens. Recently, we did an election. I'm not sure if the president is here tonight. And there was some challenges in the handover. When we were finally able to get the items handed over, we had instructed the team to ensure that it's recorded in their minutes. So yes, you may be doing your minutes and that's fine. You're recording what is happening in the meeting, but you also need to record the finances. And even if there's an exchange of information as well, important documents in your secretary's book, you need to be recording that information as well. It will come back in the future, and you would be very happy that you have this information recorded. So thank you very much for that, Madam Secretary.
You're muted. Sorry, you're muted.
Oh wow, and I was just saying so much. Thank you very much. So what I was saying, so did you all hear me just now tell you how important it was to have your information recorded?
Yes,
Yes,
I did
ma'am.
actually.
I don't know how I got muted after that. Okay. So some of the first steps that you need to be doing after your election is you need to join our community, right? So that's our job. So if there's anybody here, any president or secretary that is not in the community as yet, please let us know. You want to make sure that you join the region community. You want to make sure that you know who your region rep is. Because they're the ones, they're like the point persons for you in terms of if you're having any challenges, they're going to be checking in, making sure that you any support that you need, making sure that you're being constitutionally guided. They're the ones that are really like your point person. So make sure you know who your unit rep is. And if you don't know who your unit rep is, please refer to the secretary and the second assistant secretary who's in the chat. Also make sure that you get a copy of your election form. Right, so that would have been the document. You would have noticed when we were doing your elections, whether it was physical or online, that we would have written all the names of your officers as well as their names and their email addresses. That is your record, your initial record. It has all your information on it. You can use that now to create your executive chats. I know that there are some executives right now that have not even left the elections and have not communicated with their fellow executives as yet more than a month, and that's very concerning for us because people are going to lose interest and going to be like, what ever happened to the PTA? Right, so look, somebody is saying they don't know their committee rep. So, Madam Secretary, if you all could respond to that accordingly, please. Right. So getting your election form is very important. I try every time there's an election, I communicate with the president directly and I will send them a copy of the form. But if I did miss anyone, please do have the form. Please make sure that you reach out to us so you can get a copy of your form. And one of the reasons why you need your form as well, apart from it being your official record, is to create your executive chat. So even though an executive chat or WhatsApp chat is not a part of our official communication, we know that the way that the world is now, everything is on a chat, right? So you can discuss a lot of issues in your executive chat to kind of restrict having a meeting all the time, right? So make sure that you do create your executive chat and then make arrangements to meet your principal. It's important. Go to your principal. Like you would have probably, he or she would have probably been in the election. Go and introduce yourself, have a little sit down, find out what is his vision for the PTA. And it's not to go in the meeting with the principal and say, yes, 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 so we're going to do everything that you want to do. No, that's not how it works. You go and hear what the needs are. He would know best. You can ask him what sort of support he would want from the PTA, and then you take that back to your executive, and then you all can decide now what it is you want to do, if you have a different direction and what sort of support you want to give. The principal does not control the PTA, right? But you have to be working hand in hand with your principal. I can guarantee you that your PTA will not be successful if you're not working with your principal. And you want to also introduce yourself to the school staff. So maybe choose a day when the PTA comes out, they go and meet the teachers. Hi, as many people as possible, maybe in the morning when you're dropping your children off to school. Hi, I am Jana Thomas. I'm the new president. This is my secretary. You know, it's nice to make the teachers help build on the relationships that you have with your teachers as well. Create your communication channel so you would know how you want to communicate with your parents. What I try to do, recognizing that there are some principals that are not sharing the information for their parent body. So you may have to start from scratch to find a way to communicate with your parents, whether it be creating Google Forms. And again, we will discuss a lot more of this later on. Whether you want to create Google Forms, whether you're going to send letters home, or if you have a principal that's going to give you the parent database, so you can start communicating via WhatsApp with your parents. If you want to send emails, if you have a school database, so some schools are using MS Teams, some are using Google for Education. They have different ways that they're communicating with your their parent body right now, the PTA should have a forum in there. So if you notice in our community, we have it sectioned off by roles. Some schools also have a similar community. Make sure the PTA has a way to communicate with their parents. So you can decide that as an executive if you want to do 1, 2, 3, or all forms of communication. Make sure that you collect your handover items, and I'll go into the handover items, what you should be looking for as a new PTA president and secretary, what items you need to make sure that you have your hands on. Make sure that you review your constitution and the rules, right? So that is available in the constitution. And as I said, you can get the constitution to your rep. Update your bank signatories or request a bank letter. So many people are calling me and telling me that they're going to the bank and the bank is blanking them. Plain talk. You are not required to submit 3 years financial or to register as an NPO. Once you have already paid your dues, I think there are only a few schools that have not paid their dues as yet. Those would have been the interim teams. Once you have paid your dues, you request a letter from the NPTA. Make sure that you copy the region so we can follow up. When you request that letter, the national would send you a copy of the letter. It would say in there what the NPO certificate number is. You take that to the bank with your signatories. Of course, you have to have all the other information, just as if you're opening a bank account. But they are directing a lot of our PTA leaders to register as an NPO. You don't need to do that. So when you're in the bank and you're trying to make your appointment and they say you need to register as an NPO, you tell them we are an affiliated unit of the National Council of Parent Teachers Association, and you contact the General Secretary. She will send the certificate to the bank. Right? So one thing to do, if you don't have a bank account, make sure you request a letter to open your bank account, or 2, update your bank signatories if there have been changes. And finally, this is really for the PRO, but start to think about if you did not have a PTA t-shirt before, if you didn't have a social media page, start to think about how you want to brand your PTA. If you're going to use whatever the team had before, and we always try to encourage consistency. You don't want to be changing things every time there's a new team in place, or if there has been no color, or there's no brand, or there's no logo, or you all don't have any team t-shirts, well, then you can start thinking along those lines. Handover items. Now, traditionally, we've always said that you need to have president's report, treasurer's report, and president's, treasurer's, and secretary's report. But there's so much more than that needs to be handed over. And we are now working at a regional level of enforcing that handovers be done and even prepared even 2 weeks before elections. So we're also asking for any copies of any attendance registers, and PTA members, presidents, secretaries. The PTA does not belong to any of us, right? We are here to serve a role. We are here to serve it in the best of our ability. And then when our time has come, we have to pass the baton on to somebody else. And every PTA should be able to grow on the work that the PTA has done before, not start over. So I'm asking you, please, when you leave office, to make sure that you hand over all relevant documents to the PTA. We are going to enforce it as well, but I'm just saying that here as well. If there's a PTA phone number, yes, if there's a PTA phone number, some schools are buying phones and SIM cards, you need to hand over the phone number as well. You also need to give access to any accounts that the school may have. So if you were the admin in the WhatsApp chat, you need to now hand over admin access. If you have an existing social media account, you need to hand over social media accounts. If there is an email, you need to give up the password and the backup for the password, for the email address, or any other digital assets that you have. We are not to gatekeep the information. It is unfair to the PTA to have to start over now with an all new email address and all the data they had before. So let us operate with some integrity. That's one of the core values of the PTA. Make sure that you get a list of your assets. So remember before I spoke about the role of the trustees. The trustees should also present along with the financial report all the assets that the PTA has. So if it's a cup, if it's a tablecloth, if it's a t-shirt, whatever it is, if you have some awards waiting, if it's some snacks that were donated, make sure that you get that trustee list. Or make sure that when you leave office, you prepare that trustee list. But these are the documents that you need to have when you need to have in hand to make it easier for you so you can kickstart your PTA right away. Inventory assets, any bank statements. So if there was an existing bank account, make sure you get the most recent bank statement so you have an idea what's the bank balance. Any letters or receipts that they may have had. They may have had receipts from the NPTA before, receipts for purchases of the past year. It's a handover to handover to handover. Any cash that they may have in hand, and if they have an existing committees already in place, because lots of PTAs have their committees, and I'll discuss that very briefly just now. Make sure that you get all that information from your outgoing member. If you're having challenges, please do reach out to us. Right? It is difficult as well because some persons leave, maybe they're disgruntled or maybe they finish with PTA, they've served their time, so they may not want to hand over the information. But in most cases, we have been successful in getting the information, but it's done on a case-by-case basis. Working with the Constitution. So as you begin to go through the Constitution, some of the things that you should pay some attention to is the duties of the officers. So make sure you know your rules. Make sure you understand what is the financial rules and procedures. So know who's supposed to be issuing money and signing checks. So if you are have a bank account, the president and the treasurer do not sign checks. The signing order according to our Constitution is the president and the trustee or the treasurer and the trustee. If you do not have a bank account and you're using petty cash vouchers, the same rules apply. Both persons sign. Right? That is to keep us as transparent as possible. Make sure you know what the meeting requirements are. So your meeting requirements are, as an executive, according to our Constitution, is you must have one executive meeting a month and one general meeting a month. You're also required to attend our regional general meetings the fourth Saturday of every month. A quorum for you is 4 persons. So if you come to a meeting and only 3 persons attend, you do not have a quorum. So therefore, you cannot make any decisions. Your quorum is 4. Once you have 4 persons within your meeting, you can start your meeting, you can make any decisions. Otherwise, we'll just be having a discussion. And of course, you have to report to the region as well as to national. Why we need the Constitution? Because it actually protects us, right? It protects your rights as an officer. It protects your team. It protects your PTA funds. So it protects principles. I'm telling you, this is what I want you to do with the money. No, we have a Constitution. We have our own act of parliament. We can raise our money how we want. We can bank our money how we want. And we can spend our money how we want, as long as for the benefit for the children. It is not to go to penny wise, right, parents? Right? It protects us from how we raise and bank our funds. It protects our parents. It protects our school. And once we are following it, it's going to prevent mismanagement. Now, I would be the first to admit that the Constitution may not be perfect. It does need some reform, but this is what we have now. Following it prevents mismanagement, conflict, and any confusion. This person saying, I want to do this. This person saying, no, I don't want to do this. Let's do it this way. And it prevents any accusations because everything is clearly outlined there. Of course, if there are any other questions, we did do a Know Your Constitution presentation a few months ago. It's recorded. It is on our link tree. It's on our YouTube channel. You could always go back and look at it. Right? We will be having another session very soon. What your first executive meeting agenda should look like. You should have a welcome. So you notice at the beginning of this meeting, I welcome everyone. I thank them. You should also call your meeting to order, and that should be minuted. So this meeting, I know as the president, I now call this meeting to order at such and such time. Make sure that is minuted. Your first meeting, so you want to do introductions because remember, you don't know these people. You just all came together, you all put up your hand, you all were nominated sometime at a meeting, so you really don't know one another. So use your first meeting to be a very light meeting, get to know one another, kind of learn everyone's personalities, what are their individual ideas for the PTA. People work together when they are part of the plan, especially in PTA, right? One thing that is also very important as well is team building. None of us are paid to be here. So it's important that we have a bond with the executive, that we work well with the team. Yes, we PTA in, but we are having fun doing it. And we know the team that we work in it and we gelling together. So even if in lieu of your first executive meeting, you do a little lime, a little getting to know one another, a little team building session. You know, you eat, have a little eats, have a little drinks, and just kind of hear everyone's ideas before you actually go into the business of the meeting. But if not, you can do a little team building session in your executive so people know who they're working with. Review your constitution with the executive. So just as I would have shared with you the importance of knowing your constitution, same thing. Review it with your executive. Review the officer's rules. That's included in the constitution, but it also would have been given to you in your starter package. At your first meeting, you can also establish committees. So your committees could be fundraising, welfare, educational, PR. Right? You can establish committees within the executive with executive members, or you can have parents coming in on your committees as well. Set statutory dates for your meetings. So let us put some order and some structure to this. It's not whenever the president feel like calling a meeting, you're going to have a meeting. Come together as an executive, do a poll in your executive chat and say, listen, what dates do you all think we should meet? Executive meeting, whether it's first Monday, second Tuesday, third Wednesday, make a decision together as a team, put a vote on it. So once you have set that date, everybody knows that this is our date for the meeting for the next year. So then we cannot hear, oh, I didn't know, I couldn't make it. When you call meetings ad hoc for executive meetings, then you're going to get a lot of members saying, oh, I didn't have time to plan. So let's eliminate that and make sure that your meetings, you have a statutory date for your meetings. Similarly, for your general meetings. If you're having your executive meeting, maybe it's the first Monday, you know that you're going to be planning what you're doing in your executive meeting for your general meeting, then make sure that your general meeting is maybe the week after or 2 weeks after to give yourself enough time to implement what was decided in your executive meeting. Of course, you're going to discuss how you want to communicate and then start discussing what is your 3-month plan. Right? We do have a session on strategy planning that will be coming out very soon. So please, when that is announced, please make sure that you're in that session because that will help you with planning your strategy for the term. Tools that you should have, and the executive will help you with that. The secretariat will help you with that. Tool for a simple agenda and attendance log. So you would have noticed you just did your attendance log in Google. You can use the same Google or you can write it, type it out, have a book. Make sure that you have a minutes for templates. We will also send you, as a matter of fact, that was in your starter guide, a finance report. There is an online template that we use on Google that we can share with you for your treasurers. So you can use that. You can add it, edit it however you want, but that is available to you as well. And your committee forms. The committee forms is just who is on your committee and what is the role of the committee, what is the objective of the committee. So that's what your first executive meeting should look like. Of course, you can always add different things onto it as time goes by. Your first general meeting, of course, you want to have your PTA prayer and another prayer as well. You should also know your PTA prayer. I didn't include that here. You want to make sure you sing the national anthem, make sure the president gives a welcome. Minutes and correspondence of the last meeting should also be read. Now, if this is your first general meeting, you want to do introductions to your new team. The new parent body. Let's see who our new PTA is. Let's see the president. Let's see everyone else, right? You want to share with them your ideas. Generally, you would share any correspondence that you would have received over the past until the last time that you met with them. Discuss any school matters. You see committee introductions is there. You can also have a guest speaker, right? Your education officer will try and find somebody that is relevant to a topic that you want to have shared with your parents. Principal's remarks, always make sure that your principal is invited to your general meetings. And also, you are the PTA. This is a PTA meeting. You set the dates. So principals are setting PTA dates. That's how it is. You set the dates, you let your principal know, or you'll do it together. Right? Of course, Respect. Your principal is an ex officio member. Make sure that they have an item on the agenda. You can even go through the agenda with him because you want to encourage collaboration. Right, of course, always leave a room for questions so people could ask whatever they need, and then a closing prayer. Tips on having a professional meeting. Try to start your meeting on time. Make sure that you always have an agenda and stick to it. Make sure that one person speaks at a time, so we don't want to have a whole flea market going on in any meeting. Make sure that the interaction is respectful. Make sure all decisions that were made are recorded. So if in this meeting we decided that the secretary is going to contact Miss Francois and find out why she does not know who her rep is, that should be minuted in the meeting. Make sure that it's recorded somewhere. Avoid sessions where it becomes a moan and groan session where everybody is just complaining. So let's start talking about solutions, right? Yes, we know that there may be some issues that you have, but what we want to discuss today is solutions, and then we want it recorded. Always end with your next steps. Okay, thank you for coming to this meeting. This is what we are going to do. We are going to follow up on the decision for the secretary to contact Ms. Francois, right? Always make sure that you have next steps. And this, members, it's general protocol for running meetings across the board. It's not just a PTA, and many of you would know that. Okay, we want to make sure that you start your PTA strong. Make sure that you have your strategy plan in place. As I said, we have a session coming on that. Identify things that you can do quickly, things that you can consider quick wins. Build relationships with your principals and your teachers. Promote the PTA benefits. Promote your membership. You want to grow advocates and your parents for the PTA. You want your parents to say, my school has the best PTA. Right? You want to launch a project very early, whether it's a reading program, whether it's a schooling program, improvement program, whether it's a welfare initiative. Try to find something that you can launch together as a team. And again, I'm coming back to make sure you keep accurate records. Some samples of things that you can do immediately. You can do welcome letters. So from the time you get elected, you go to the principal and you write him a letter. I'd like to introduce you the new PTA. Send that letter off. You can do a classroom support project, whether it is a PTA rep project. So your PTA rep in first year would be the liaison for that group, second year and so forth, going right up. Well, we said create your PTA WhatsApp group already. Start a kindness initiative. I know we have an issue, especially in our boys' schools across the nation with the bullying, right? So, try and think about ways that you can introduce the thought of kindness within our school. We can't go in there and bully the children, but we can try to change the conversation. Whether you want to do a beautification project in the school, if you find that the bathroom area needs a little work, you can go in and put some work in there. So these are just simple things that you can do. And I have parent resource share. One of the things that we want to encourage you to do, we'll be talking more about it, is your PTA parents. We want you to know who we have in our school, what are their skills, right? It's called a skills bank. Sorry, that just lost me for a minute. So you want to make sure that you start putting together a skills bank, so that when you are in need of talent and resources within your school, you'll be surprised at the human resource that you have in your school that can assist you. Right? We want to make sure that you are clear in your communication. So as president, sometimes we get frustrated, like, why didn't my secretary understand that this is what I want? But then you have to ask yourself as a president, was I clear enough to her? Was my instruction guided accordingly? Right? So make sure that you are very clear in your delivery. Make sure that you are respectful. So nobody here works for you, Madam President. We are all working together. Yes, you may be the head of the team and someone says they're not hearing properly. Is everyone hearing me properly?
Yes, we are.
Okay, great. So yes, you are the head of the team. Continue to be the head of the team, but be respectful, right? Make sure that you encourage collaboration. It is not I do this, I say this is how it will be. Make sure that you're professional in your approach and your communication, the way that you speak to people as well. Make sure that you are transparent. So it is not the president doing everything behind the scene, and the other members have no idea what is happening. I'm not just talking about finances, I'm talking about communication with the principal, communication with stakeholders. Make sure that you are sharing and including your PTA in the activities of the PTA. Make sure that you are timely as well. If you say that I am the president, I am the secretary, I am going to present this by such and such date. If you can't make it, give a little excuse. I'm sorry, members, I was unable to make this deadline. Permit me to submit it to you at a different time. Once you lead with that level of professionalism, then guess what? They are going to follow with that level of professionalism as well. You're not going into the PTA to promote your personal agendas. And that is recently I saw a case where a person took a role in a PTA because they had their own um program, their own, I don't want to share too much of it, but they had their own program that had a cost attached to it, and they wanted to use the PTA to promote it to their parents. Parents, that is a big no-no. Yes, you may have your programs and you may have your opportunities that may be beneficial to our parents, but let us make sure that we're doing this thing as transparent as possible. Lay your cards on the table, let your executive know what's happening, take it before your general properly, general members, even show other examples of competing programs and so forth, so that when a decision is made, it was not, I said that this is what we want to do because it's my business and I'm the PTA. Always ensure that you, as I said before, that you are copying the executive in your communication as well as the principal. Now, I know that there will be some cases that are sensitive, especially when it comes to the welfare of some of our children and our parents. We don't expect that information to be broadcasted across the place. You can just let your executive know that I'm treating with an issue with X, Y, and Z without sharing names and who those persons are. Right? Principal and PTA president's partnership. Of course, as I said, the principal is an ex officio member of the PTA, so they are involved in all the conversations, but they don't have a vote. So they can participate, but they cannot vote. Schedule monthly meetings with your principal if you can. If he's not, he or she, if they cannot come to the executive meeting, which they should be because they're an official member, still give him or her that respect that you can go and sit in their office on a monthly basis, set it as a statutory meeting if possible, to discuss where you are in your plans or what plans he has or she has for the future, as well as yours. There should be shared goals. The principal's goals and the PTA's goals are supposed to be aligned. Right? Make sure that you're planning your engagements together. Now, some principals would just say, yeah, let the PTA handle that. That's fine. That's no problem. Just make sure the principal is in the loop of what is happening. There must be respect for the position of the principal, just as there will be respect for PTA. The way that you carry about yourself, the way that you operate is what is going to command that respect. And of course, it's a two-way communication. So some principals like to say that you are to give me a financial report, but do you know that your principal is also supposed to share his finances to the parent body as well? So two-way communication. What you want me to give, I will also give to you, and that is how you begin building trust and a strong relationship with your principal. So I spoke about committees. It is good to break up your committees into small teams and try to have different persons on different committees. So you're using your executive that only has maybe about 13 to 15 members. If you try to break them up into 5 committees, you're not going to have enough. They're going to get burnt out. So pull on other parents within your school, make it small acts. Hey, can you serve on a finance committee? Or can you serve on the welfare committee? Or they have ad hoc committees. So if, for instance, you're doing a fundraiser, a bazaar that's coming up, you can do a bazaar committee, right? The president appoints those committees and they're ex officio, but let the committee members do their work. And of course, they report back to the executive. What you're required to do monthly, you must have your executive minutes, you must have your general meeting minutes, you must have your treasurer statement, you must have your attendance register, and you must have the regional report. I'm seeing a question that somebody says that the principal does not want to be transparent. You have to continue asking. If they're not being transparent about the finances, then you could escalate that to the district office. We try to avoid running to the district office. I know some persons, and I know you're having the person who asked that question is having an issue with their principal, but principals are supposed to be reporting as well their finances, if not to the general body, at least to the PTA, so the PTA can make that report on behalf of them. Right, what sort of support can you get from us from the region? You can, of course, there's a regional representative that's there to give you guidance and support. There's the training and workshops like what we're doing right now, and all these sessions are being recorded so we can use it in the future. There is communication channels, so we have our various social media. We also have the WhatsApp community. We are going to enforce governance as much as we can just to make sure that everyone is doing what they're supposed to do. There are going to be a lot more. It's coming down from a national level as well, a lot more reinforcement of the rules, ensuring everyone is doing what they're supposed to do, having internal auditors coming and so forth, which is constitutional. So we want to make sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing. We're going to give you resources whenever we can and give you any support we can with conflict resolution. A few of our members were actually trained in conflict resolution. So if you are having any issues that you cannot solve amongst yourselves, do not let it escalate. Reach out to us and we will give you as much as support as we can. You also know that we have our starter guide, so you can refer to that at time to time if you're unsure about any of your officers' positions. And we have the toolkit as well. Right? Some best practice, and this is the final slide before I take any questions. Delegate early. Do not burn out. Do not do all the work yourself because you will burn out. So delegate, use your team, give persons responsibility. Keep your receipts for everything. If you have a little book, take your picture, save it on your drive, photocopy it, put it in your bank book, your notebook, however you call it in your finances. Make sure that you're keeping your receipts. Make sure that you follow the same signatory process for issuing all funds, whether it be cash funds or checks. Keep your meetings short and productive. So let's not go on and on and on and on. Nobody's going to want to come to meetings that last for hours. The PTA is not supposed to be involved in politics, nor is it supposed to be involved in any sort of religious activities. We are open to all, we love all, and we embrace all. So you're not coming to the PTA to promote any of your personal agendas based on your religious or political affiliations. And of course, represent your PTA professionally everywhere that you go. Within your school environment, of course, right? But even so outside, represent your PT as best as possible. So I don't know if you have anything to add, Madam Secretary?
Not at this time, Madam President.
Okay, so I now open the floor for questions. If you all have any questions for me. All right, thank you everyone for your service. Go out there and be the best PTs that you can be.